Welcome. Hey guys, today we have a special guest, a good friend of mine, Juan Cardona. Welcome, Juan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, wow. You know, it's funny. Over the last year, I've talked to former students mostly,
Right.
and they've asked me, when are you going to have Mr. Cardona on? And I said,
It-
we're going to get Mr. Cardona. Don't worry.
well, I appreciate that. I've had a few students throughout the years tell me, Mister, you should have a podcast. You should have when I go off on a tangent in class and I start talking about other things, and they're like, Mister, you should have a podcast. I'm like, you guys, if I knew how to do it, maybe. I go, you're gonna have to do it for me.
Juan,
have to set it up.
some people tell us that we don't even know how to do it.
And you guys are doing it.
You're in good company.
You're in good company. Hey, Juan, let our audience know what you teach and how long you've been teaching.
Well, I teach Spanish at Elizabeth Learning Center. I teach Spanish, AP Lit and AP Language. And depending on the need, sometimes I'll do Spanish for Spanish speakers too, or I'll do non-native Spanish speakers too also. So mainly 11th and 12th grade. And of course, this year with the going up, we went into a what is it called, a block schedule, so there was an extra class, so I was able to take on a 10th grade class, which has been kind of interesting because I haven't taught 10th grade in a while, so
right.
Getting back to my roots. So
yeah, this year was my first year I taught a 9th grade class. I go, whoa, this is change.
Big difference, right? I didn't
big
realize
difference.
What a
it makes you really work.
One year makes, the just everything, the maturity, even the feedback. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's even more pronounced for this year, because if you're teaching 10th graders,
correct,
you're kind of teaching 10th graders who haven't been in school since their 8th grade year.
Right.
So they're kind of like 9th graders.
Yeah. I'm calling it the Zoom Hangover. Yeah.
Perfect term for it.
They haven't had the socialization. They missed it.
Right.
And they haven't built that maturity. And
correct.
So I know what you feel like. I know what that
tough.
is.
It's been tough on them, I'm sure, because also they have to reprogram their own way of going about school. You know what I mean? Like, even the study skills and, the process of looking at your work more often and everything like that is just, it's now coming to a realization for them. The first couple months there was resistance, but now it feels like, it's starting to kind of become like, what they say, riding that old bike, right? It's just, it's now they're like, oh yeah, now I have to study, that kind of thing. So it's been cool.
You know what? While you're sharing, I was thinking about this. We've known each other for over 20 years.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy? And I remember when I first met you, we talked a little bit about you had a little experience with the movie Stand and Deliver, and this podcast is kind of an ode to that a little bit, right?
Yeah, of course.
Stay with it. We have a lot of respect for that gentleman, Jaime Escalante. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Or
well, first of all, I wanted to finish the last part of the question. I've been at Elizabeth now. I'm going to finish my 26th year.
Wow.
I started in September of '95. So yeah, it's been a while.
You're on the other side of the hill now.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of. Let's call it retirement.
Right. Now you see it coming. It's coming.
Yeah. It's getting closer. But well, what happened was, in terms of the Stand and Deliver, I went to Franklin High School, here, Benjamin Franklin High School in Highland Park, which is where I still live. And I was in a drama class. I had a drama class. We had a teacher who was very proactive with it because he himself was an actor, and he actually came out in the movie, what was it called? The Police Academy. I don't know if you remember that old spoof on the police.
Like 4 of them or 5 of them.
Yeah. He was in the first one. He's one of the guys coming out of a building carrying a TV, and he's one of the bad guys there. And so he always, and so he kind of, by seeing him do that, it kind of motivated us, a lot. in the class, and he used to put on these shows and stuff. So one day, out of the blue, they tell us that they're going to be filming a movie on this guy from Garfield. Of course, we didn't know who he was at the time, and so they were doing rounds at different high schools, Lincoln High, Franklin High, looking for kids to either be actors or background or whatnot, you know. And so since we were in the drama class, we were kind of invited. We were kind of the first people that got invited, and we got to meet some of the people involved with the film. And so, you know, they asked us questions, and they wanted to see, you know, if we were interested in acting in it. And of course I was, and they were really interested in having me be a part of it. But they asked me for something that when you're young, it's kind of tough to do. They asked me to shave my mustache.
Oh boy.
And I was like, you know,
what grade were you in to have a mustache?
I was, dude, I had a mustache since I was in the probably the 8th grade, 9th grade, you know. I hadn't shaved it. And so this is the 11th. I was in the 11th grade, I believe. Yeah, I was a junior, because I think the movie came out in '88 or something like that, or somewhere around there. So I was like either a 10th grader or 11th grader. And they asked me, and they said, you know, we're really interested in having you, you know, be a part of the movie. They were talking about this part about this guy who was kind of like, I think they were talking about the guy who does the mechanic. He's the that has a relationship with this girl or whatever. And I was like, you know, I don't think I want to. I don't want to shave it off. You know, back then I had you know, I don't have as much pride now as I did, you know, when I was in high school, you know.
Right. Because you knew it all in high school. You knew it all in high school.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, like, you know, why would they want me to take this off? It's going to make me look younger and different, and you know, I don't want to be picked on, you know, be told things by my friends because I shaved it off. So I didn't do it, and unfortunately, you know how it is in showbiz, man. It's like the window opens and closes quickly.
That's right.
And so, you know, so I told them, you know, in case if you want, you know, if you want anything else, I'm willing to do it. I just don't want to shave my mustache. But I guess what they told me was I looked too little older than a high school kid. So they were like, you'd be perfect for this, you know, because they gave me some lines to read, and you know, and so, but that was my brief.
Who knows? You may have been in Hollywood and not a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. And that might have been a great thing, but you know, no regrets, man. I've had a wonderful career so far. So
now, Juan, stay in your 11th grade year for a moment. Okay. I don't think I've asked this question of any of the teachers that have been through here, but I've pondered this. That go back to that 11th grade year. Did you think you'd ever be a teacher?
Oh, not at all. Actually, I was told by one of my 10th grade English teachers or 11th grade English teachers. She said to me, you know, you'd be a great teacher. And I was like, what? Get up at this time? Are you kidding? Who wants to get up at 7 a.m. to go to work? And so I, you know, of course, you know, back then when you're young, you know, being a teacher is like the farthest thing you want to be. You're thinking of the glamour jobs and the money jobs, the famous jobs, you know, those kinds of things. My job, I was thinking, are you kidding? I want to be first base for the Dodgers. I don't want to be a teacher. And it's interesting because I mention this to my kids, and I tell them that sometimes the reason why, you know, I've learned, I think, reflecting back, because I've reflected back on that a lot, you know, like when I give kids advice, when I tell them, hey, you'd probably be a very good salesperson. Maybe you should think about real estate or things like that, because, you know, some kids have some innate gifts, you know, and you see that in them, and you're like, you'd be a great representative in this type of industry or job or whatever. And so I reflected a lot on that. And sometimes, unfortunately, I think, you know, when you're young, you don't want to be a teacher. And maybe it's because sometimes even teachers or ourselves don't make it look so fun.
Right.
You know,
and we complain about the pay.
Yeah, we complain about a lot of things. We complain about, you know, this and that. And I'm like, well, why would you want me to be what you are when you don't seem happy being what you are? And you know what I mean? And so I was, you know, and I reflect on that a lot, because it makes me have a different attitude in my classes. You know, I want them to realize how much fun I'm having and how great a life I've had because of it, and what all the things I've been able to do because of the time it's allotted me, and the things I've been able to accomplish because of the career, you know. And so, and I think it's I see it in the last 10 years, it has created a little snowball. You know, a lot of my former students are teaching now, and some of them are at my school, man. And 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 I have, there's like five former students of ours, Jake, that are
I know them. They're incredible kids, or not kids, adults now.
And so when I tell them that, you know, when I tell the students, you know, I taught this person, they're like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, ask them about their experience in my class. And then, of course, so now they become interested and they start telling me, so what do I have to do to become a teacher and this and that, you know? And so, you know, that year was an interesting year, but I know I would never have thought I was going to become a teacher. No, not at all.
I relate to that so much. That's good. By the way, I like what you said about how can we expect them to join our profession when we downplay it or we talk bad about it. We have to celebrate the good things. And and I've been talking about the economy too, and how it's all relative, and how I can't really complain about my pay because there are people looking through trash cans, and some portions of the city, I teach in the Valley, they look at me as a wealthy person. And I explain that to students. That's a good point. And so I like what you're saying here. And the other part, when I was 11th grade, I couldn't imagine ever setting foot in a high school again. You know, little did I know.
And we're always there now. Hey, Juan, I was going to share that, you know, when I was there working with you, you know, you're pretty successful in AP Spanish, lit language. And I never really quite understood why nobody really talked about it too much. And I say that because I look at Jaime Escalante, and he was very successful with his AP program. I'm not sure if you could answer this question, but why do you think your kids didn't get that type of recognition? Like maybe you would disagree with me, but I always felt like there was an incredible thing happening in your room. And I thought, wow, this guy, the pass rate, I don't think any other AP program had the pass rate as yours. And I know they're Latino, but still there's work that to be done. What would you say to that? Because I know there's AP teachers out there looking at this, and maybe they could learn a little bit here.
You know, I really can't say why. I mean, you know, our school is small. It's not it's not a well-known powerhouse in terms of high schools. We're K through 12. We're very unique, obviously. Well, I think we're the only school in the LAUSD that's K through 12, which has its own challenges, but it also has its own beauty. Like when I see my older students talking to their little brother and sister right at that moment, you know, giving them direction about what class to meet them after school because they're going to walk them home. Or when I see a kid from my window walking to the restroom and he stops to let the little ducklings from, you know, kindergarten walk in front of them, you know what I mean, as they're heading to lunch. And so, it has a lot of that. But let's not forget that the reason I think that Jaime Escalante, the movie was filmed was because his kids were accused of cheating. And so that created a little bit of interest in the fact that, you know, they found the way, why are they cheating? Are they not cheating? You know, that whole, it became very large in a sense because people were feeling insulted because they didn't think that these kids had the ability to have the scores that they had, or that somebody could make that much of a difference in a classroom in East LA. You know what I'm saying? So I think that probably had a lot to do with it. Hollywood likes those types of stories. Mine's been pretty bland in that sense, you know, in the fact that, you know, it's just hopefully a continuous successful movement from beginning to end, but it wasn't anything that attracted any, you know, attention, whether positive or negative.
Right.
Of course, you know, that's out of my control and stuff like that. But I think that's probably why more than anything is, you know, you need publicity, and whether good or bad, publicity is publicity, as you know.
And I think it really matters is that the kids and your colleagues respect what you've done and are thankful. I'm sure you have kids coming back and saying thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that might be the only AP class I passed, or or maybe that helped me get into a college. I mean, I'm sure
Sure.
you've had those type of conversations.
Yeah. I've had kids say thank you. Passing the exams, but because of the subject matter I taught them, and the things that I connected with, and some of them are in reality. I mean, I'm teaching AP literature, and a lot of them are reading this literature translated into English, right? Like Don Quixote or something like that, and they're like, "Mister, I have so much more understanding than most of my classmates in at the university and things like that." So, yeah. So I feel grateful with that, that the kids have at least seen the value of not just passing the test, but what they've learned, and how I went about it in terms.
Well, let's talk about that. How you went about. Can you think of a strategy that you used? Because I know teachers watch this, and there's a million strategies I know, but something that you say, hey, this kind of worked in my class, and the kids seem to, maybe it's the style you have, or maybe something you did that you feel like this is something that the kids get a lot out of.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of many things. The material is one thing. I try to make it as interesting as possible, like every other teacher. But I learned early on. When I was getting my master's, we had a professor who did this really interesting thing for us, and he asked us. What we should write. He gave us a little project, not a project, but a group little thing. And he said, I want you all of you guys to write down who your favorite teacher was of all time, from kindergarten to now. Now, we were in a master's program, so we had gone through our number of teachers, and so we all started writing these things down. We put I put Mr. Whoever, and I started putting all the things that made him my favorite teacher, and then we put them all up on the wall. And so when he goes, I want you guys to take a look and see if there's anything that you guys find in common. And so we started looking around, and we couldn't figure it out. I mean, all the things were positive, of course, but a lot of things were kind of like the same type of answers. He says, you guys don't see something in common here, or out of character with what you guys are about to do in terms of teaching. And I couldn't figure it out. And finally he goes, you guys, if you look at every one of these things that you guys put on the wall, he says, not one of these papers says anything about what they taught you. And there was nothing there about, this teacher taught me how to write. He taught me math. He taught me everything we had written, Jake, was about how they treated us.
Relationship.
Right. It was about, he was kind. He was, compassionate.
Oh man, that's true. So
he was understanding. He was patient, and she was this, and she was that, and she cared, but nothing had to do with the subject. And I realized on that day that no matter what I teach, no matter how I teach it or what I teach, they may not will ever remember what I taught them, but they'll always remember how I made them feel. Yeah. And I think that's been my biggest strategy, is that I try to make students feel like it's okay to fail. It's okay to not be successful all the time, but to be engaged in what they're learning, to find some sort of value in whatever it is, even if it's a book that they don't want to read, or a story that they don't think, find something that they can find value in it. And that's been one of the things. The other thing has been, honestly, it's just one of the things I did as a kid in that drama class that we earlier started talking about. I did stand-up comedy, so I think I bring a lot of humor into the class.
That's smart.
I do. I really do, man. I don't think there's a class that goes by where the kids didn't laugh like 5 to 6 times. I mean, belly laugh, And of course, as we do it every year, you start learning, like a good comedian, you start learning which jokes work and which jokes don't, Right. And so, but the most important thing for me was, I had a sister. Well, I have a sister who graduated from UC Santa Cruz, and when she was graduating, one of the speakers there was Luis Valdez, the guy who wrote Zoot Suit, and El Teatro Campesino and all that stuff. I spoke to him after the graduation, because it was kind of like a Latino graduation, and so he got to speak to a few of us, and we spoke to him. So I got really interested in some of his thinking, and so I went back and I read some stuff about him, and I found this quote that he had written about, or he had said regarding the Teatro Campesino. He used to put plays on the back of pickup trucks, right, in the fields, so that he can educate the workers, the field workers, because they didn't know how to read or write. So he was just trying to tell them, what's going on with the unionization, all that stuff. But they asked him why he made them so funny if it was such a serious subject. And he said, and I think this is more or less paraphrasing his quote, he said, well, I try to make them laugh, and when their mouth is open, I stick the truth in it. And that had a big, profound effect on me. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make these kids laugh. And when their mouth is open, I'm going to stick the education in it. You know what I mean? So
it does make sense, because you are competing as a teacher. You're competing with so many things. They have these computers in their pockets. They have, videos and games. And how do you compete? Your math topic, your English topic? How does that going to work? But you're saying make them laugh. And you said stand-up comedy. You mentioned theater. It probably isn't overstating it to encourage teachers to take a class in improv or comedy. I mean, that's
a great idea.
Sound really odd, but don't you think that might be a pretty good strategy?
I agree. Every teacher should take an acting class and maybe an improv class and something like that, because as serious as we take our subject and our education and our strategies and everything that we do, it's not always there for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're not always as interested in that. So there's got to be another way you have to pull them in. Yeah. And I find humor pulls them in. It drops their guard a lot.
Can I just share something real quick, Juan?
Yeah.
I was looking at your social media, and there's a picture of you. This was yesterday, I believe, of you in this big. I think it was you, Juan. Tell me if it's not.
No, it wasn't. It was a student.
It wasn't you?
No,
I thought it was you. I said, but that was so hilarious to.
Yeah.
And I
explain it, Jake. Jake, explain what you're talking about. I think it was
a character.
It was a character from Rick and Morty. This guy had this costume on.
Had a big costume, and I thought it was Juan. I'm like, oh man. It was hilarious.
A kid, but the costume was also kind of tough. And so he went to go get a piece of paper as they were starting to write. And so I told him, you know what, I'm gonna take a few snapshots. Basically, what I was thinking is to give it to the school for maybe the yearbook or whatever.
Oh yeah,
but
it was great.
It just was so perfect. I was like, I gotta post this on and there's a lot of social media now in the school with sports and and of course the leadership classes and the academies. And so so I posted it up and see, the thing is, for that to happen in your class, the kids have to be comfortable enough to feel like I can be funny. And I always tell them there's a big difference between, I tell them I love comedians. I love comedians, but I don't like clowns. And I tell them I'm okay with you being a comedian. If you have comedy and you bring humor to the class, that's fine, but don't act like a clown. Don't be, in that negative sense, right? Of where it's taking attraction off of the things we're trying to accomplish. So I think he feels free. The student felt free. A lot of students feel free to be humorous in my class, and I think that helps a lot. But yeah,
for sure,
a lot of kids got a kick out of that. Former students have been sending me messages on Instagram.
I thought it was you. I was like, oh my god.
Oh no. They've been asking me that too. Was that you, Miss? I'm like, no, it wasn't me. It was one of my students, and they were like, that was hilarious.
I kind of going with that though, Juan. I mean, like looking at your career, I feel like, and I've worked with you for several years before, in the past. I'm sure you've had several mentors. And I might know the answer to this question because I know you. Is there somebody who has had a big influence on you in your teaching and has had, even in your character, who you are? It might not be a teacher, but it could be someone like that. And can you share a little bit about that? What you learned from them?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many people that have contributed to what I feel is my success, and so I guess starting with the first person that I don't know, I think obviously I think you know him, Eddie Munoz. Was my very first teacher. That's a name from the past, right? He teaches now. He teaches at ELAC. Like I think he teaches English in college, but he was the first person who first of all showed me what was possible in a classroom. When I walked in to his classroom to observe the Friday, it was just a Friday before the Monday I was going to start teaching. It was Friday the 8th. Ironically started September the 11th, but it was 1995. But that Friday I really learned what was possible. And once I saw because I also saw other classes, and I was kind of scared, to be honest. What happened was I saw his classroom, and I saw how the kids behaved in his classroom and how structured it was, and what he was doing. And he gave me a vision. And then he kind of took me under his wing as a new teacher, and was very unselfish, was very giving of himself to. He gave me assignments that I could do with them. Of course, I was going to do them in Spanish, or at least strategies that he was using in English that I could use in Spanish. And that was a tremendous help, because it allowed me to kind of catch my breath as I started teaching. Of course, another friend of mine, you also know, Jimmy Roca, who he was a very influential person in my life in terms of teaching, because first of all, he's the one that kind of convinced me to try teaching, because he had started. But with him, it was more like, again, that social aspect of dealing with the kids, of making them feel good about themselves, and making them laugh, and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, our colleague Paulino, who recently passed away in June, who was a tremendous influence in my life, and in not just there as a teacher, but in a lot of the things that I've experienced, because I traveled with him a lot, as you know. We backpacked South America. We had a lot of he was like a brother, an older brother that that kind of guided me, not just through school education, because I think we started teaching at the same time, so we both kind of were going through the same things. But it was just more of the way to look at the world, to look at my position and the influence I could have with these kids, and make it a positive thing, and not necessarily a negative. Because the kids loved him, man.
Oh yeah.
He was Viejo Fontes. He was their that uncle they never had, and just I always admired that. I always admired how kids were so unapologetic about how they felt about him and how much they loved him. Even when we would go to graduations, and we would go together there,
right.
and I'd show up, and we'd see former students. Now, granted, I was much younger than he was. He was 23 years older than me. So I was a lot more formal with my kids because of the age difference. So when the kids approached me in those types of environments of the graduations, and it was a little more, hi, it's good to see you, very, very formal. With him, it was like they were running up to him and giving him big old hugs, and Mr. Fontes, this and that. And I always admired that. I always thought, man, this guy really just takes their heart, And so that was another person that was very influential, among other people in our academy, yourself, others who we always bounced ideas off of and talked shop with, and the experiences through the academy also, the other people that we worked with, the hard work other teachers were putting into, like Mr. McGinty and Miss Parker, of course, the dedication they were giving to the kids, all this stuff, just different personalities and points of view,
Right. And to that collaboration with others because you're part of a health academy with other teachers. And I remember doing different projects and activities. Is there one activity that we did, Juan, or even in the last few years, that you're most proud of, and with the collaboration with other teachers? And can you speak to that collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, when the academies first started at Elizabeth, they were very humanitas based. Remember, I mean, we basically knew what everybody was teaching. I knew what you were teaching. Everybody else knew what I was teaching, and we tried to correlate it around these units, right, that we had. But I think in terms of projects, I used to love those academy projects that we used to do, where they were kind of cross classes, and these kids would do like their, they would do like the career investigation project, where they would learn about what it would take to do a certain particular job in the health field. There's been some community service projects that I've done. One that I remember that I had a lot of fun with, I did with Paulino, actually. We did a debate. One of the projects was to create a little debate amongst the kids on different health issues. And that was one, that was kind of one that I remember because it turned out humorous. It turned out funny. The kids got very passionate, a lot more passionate than I thought they were ever going to be, trying to outdo each other. You know,
they love the debate. Those kids, they love it.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much they were going to get into it.
And it's great that you're doing it with another colleague. You know,
right.
I mean, it's great opportunities.
And one, Jake, that I really enjoyed. I have a friend who teaches in another district. He teaches in Long Beach. He teaches, I think it was Wilson High School in Long Beach. And when we first started doing AP Literature, we got our classes together to do some cram sessions before the test. So we would get together on Saturdays, and either at his school or at Elizabeth, and we would bring donuts, we would bring milk, we would bring all the fixings for the kids, and they would get to see kids from another school, which, you know, it's always exciting for a kid, especially at a school as small as Elizabeth Learning Center. All these guys and girls meeting new guys and girls, you know, from another school. Yeah, that was always a motivation. I mean, I'd be like, man, these kids come on with a lot more energy on Saturday than they do on Monday through Friday. I wonder what the difference is. Well, you know, they were trying to make new friends, and,
sure.
and they were also kind of competing a little bit, like, what did our teacher teach us versus what your teacher taught us? And one of the things we did was there would be like 4 or 5 plays that we'd have to read in the class. And we ended up, there's this program called the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts, where they used to do plays. I don't know if they still do them, but they do plays in English and Spanish of Spanish authors, but they do them both in English and Spanish, same actors. And there was a play done in downtown LA, and we got both of our classes together, and we formulated a way of, we used parents to take in vans, and we got these kids to downtown to experience a play of something they were reading about. And it just changed their lives. I mean, they were all dressed up. They saw how important plays were to other people. It's like the first time as a kid you go to a symphony, you know, you realize, oh my God, this is a bigger thing than I
imagine. Yeah.
Imagine, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because you think it's only old people going and watching this, and all of a sudden they see all these people who they respect. They saw actors there at the actors that they themselves knew in from Spanish TV or English TV, and they just realized, like, wow, we're really in a special place and special class to know. You know, they felt like a part of something that they didn't know existed, and I think that kind of changed a lot in their way of perception. And I'm very proud of having those couple of times that we did that, because I saw what effect it had on these kids, you know.
Oh yeah, they love to be out of their environment, you know.
Oh yeah,
and they get so much out of it. I always tell new teachers, if you could get the kids out at least once a year, do it. You know, just do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Juan, as we're kind of wrapping up here, I wanted to, you know, you played football in high school. And I think you went. Tell me if I'm wrong. I thought you tried out for a professional team as well.
I tried out for the Chargers. I went to a little tryout they had, and
nice.
And it was interesting. And of course, the kids always are interested in
they love that stuff.
What it was like. And famously, Paulino used to crack up at this because the running joke, you know, his sister is a writer, right? And she wrote a book that won the American Book Award, a novel. And so she'd go and visit his class and talk to them. And one day I walked in there and some kid said something to her. I walked into his class and we started talking, and some kid goes, "Hey, miss, did you know that Mr. Cardona played football?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she said this with a straight face, man. She tells the kids, "Yeah, did you guys know that Mr. Cardona won a Nobel Prize in football?" And you know, we started laughing. So for a little while, these kids go, "Yeah, you want what's the Nobel?
What's the Nobel Prize?"
Nobel Prize, yeah. And so it became a running joke between Paulino and I. He'd always talk about that. He goes, "Oh, well, you know, your Nobel Prize, bro. Remember that, better than the MVP, you know." And so,
man, sounds like a sister of Paulino. Sounds like she was no DNA needed there. Hey, but give us your prediction this year. I mean, are you a Chargers fan?
No, I'm a Rams fan. I'm a Rams fan. Yes,
Ruben wants to say something.
We went through couples therapy after they came back. Remember they left.
Yeah.
So I was very, very heartbroken, both them and the Raiders. But the Raiders never came back, so I couldn't go back.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that Jake would ask, "Are you a Chargers fan?" Just because you tried out for the team.
Well, they're LA now.
I've never. No. It's either the Rams or the Raiders. Come on.
Well, I grew up, watching the Rams and the Raiders. I actually went to a lot of the preseason games between both teams, and either in Anaheim or here, and in the Coliseum. So I have a lot of fond memories. But I enjoyed watching both teams. And as a kid, as you guys know, the Raiders had one of the very first Latino, or probably the first Latino quarterback.
Tom Flores.
Yeah,
Jim Plunkett.
Tom Flores, the coach, and Ferragamo,
Plunkett,
who I could see. Plunkett. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the Rams. Plunkett and Flores, and I could see a reflection of hey, this is
cool.
Possible for. And so I was a big fan of them. And then I had a friend in my middle school who her uncle was he was the defensive back for the Raiders at the time. So just by close contact, it was just like of course I have to be a fan. I have a friend whose uncle plays for that team, and then of course the Rams just being part of LA just so that so I'm a Rams fan. I'm happy the way the team's going, and they're doing well. So I'm predicting that they are good enough to be in the Super Bowl.
Juan, I think, because people are talking about the Chiefs, and I'm a Raiders fan, but I will say, I think they are the best team in the NFL right now.
Whoa!
I would.
Am I hearing? My
finger
working?
They might not be the I don't know if they're the best team, but they definitely have the
talent.
I guess everything the talent.
I think so. It's not the Chiefs.
To be great.
It's not the Chiefs anymore.
I don't think it's the Chiefs anymore.
I think the Cardinals are overrated just because they beat the Rams. That was a bad game. I think
the Packers are an iffy team now.
Tampa Bay, maybe.
Hey, you can't count them out just because of Tom Brady, but it'd be great to see the Rams and the Raiders in a.
That would be.
What do you think, Ruben?
Man, Ruben's a Raider guy.
I think that the best thing that happened to the Raiders is losing John Gruden.
Whoa.
And I think this might be, not that I'm an anti-Gruden guy, but I just think there's a shot at least. There's a couple of interesting teams in the AFC, but I think it's clear that the Rams are a step above most of those other teams. Who knows? We can believe.
Right, of course. Wow. You never know. The only thing is, and I think it's this year. It's here, right? It's at SoFi Stadium.
Yep. Oh yeah, because it's a new stadium.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't been there yet. No, I've seen pictures, of course, but I haven't been there yet.
You have to give up a child, I think, to buy a ticket.
To get a ticket, I believe
so.
Yes,
I heard.
Or kidney.
The thing is that all the Raider fans at our school are saying, well, if there's a Super Bowl there with the Raiders and the Rams, there might be more Raider fans there than Rams fans,
Maybe.
I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't say no to that because there's so many.
I wish my father would be able to see that. He would love that.
Oh my gosh. Man.
Well, listen, I am so thankful that you came on and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know we'll be chatting soon. And
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Can't wait for the kids to send me. They're not kids, they're adults.
Yeah.
Send me messages.
We'll see how it goes. But thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you guys, seeing you guys again, and just having a conversation like we used to, and also thank you for making me reflect. You actually kind of made me want to start thinking about what I'm going to teach next week.
Good.
So usually that doesn't happen until about 4 p.m. Sunday.
Right. That's about me too. I do Sunday afternoons.
You know what I mean? So no, but thank you for down amnesia lane, as I like to call it. But I appreciate it, and good luck with the program, man.
Thank you, brother.
I think it's definitely got its spot in all these different avenues of entertainment and information and everything, so.
Thank you.
I hope everything's well with you guys and continue success on this. And yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And
right,
hopefully we could do it again
for
soon.
sure.
Definitely.
Thank
All
you.
right, man. Thank you, you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.